afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Little Bit of Everything radio show. This show is one of a kind and you never find anything like this anywhere else.
In this show, we talk about, just like the name suggests, just a little bit of everything. We talk about things like recent news, sports, politics, the economy, and many more.
Sometimes we even like to bring out a special guest.
Wait, I think we're forgetting something.
Oh yeah, we forgot to introduce ourselves. Silly us.
Okay, my name is David.
My name's Richard.
And I'm Simon.
Okay. Enough chit chat. Let's get started with the show. To start the show off, let's start off with our weekly weather forecast.
Today's October 21st, 1929, and it's a beautiful, chilly fall day here in Toronto, Canada. The weather is great outside today, and it's sunny and not too cold.
Okay. In fact, the weather the whole week is going to be stellar. It's sunny all week and no rain or clouds in sight nearby.
Folks, it looks like a great week to bring the kids outside, maybe even go for a picnic with the family. Or maybe even start decorating the house for Halloween. Lots of times for fun activities, right lads?
Yeah, okay. Now we'll move on to News Mania. Alright, boys, why don't we explain what exactly News Mania is?
Okay, so in Newsmania, we talk about different interesting news events that happened recently. We talk about a local event, one national event, and one international event. Okay, to start us off, let's talk about something local that happened recently in Toronto. 2 years ago, Toronto's Union Station opened for the very first time, in front of a large crowd on August 6, 1927. His Royal Highness Edward, the Prince of Wales, cut the ribbon that opened Union Station with a pair of gold scissors.
The Prince of Wales was accompanied by his brother and sister-in-law, the Duke and Duchess of York, British Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin and Mrs. Baldwin, and the Canadian Prime Minister William Lyon Mackenzie King. The welcoming party included Ontario Lieutenant Governor William Donald Ross and Mrs. Ross, Ontario Governor G. Howard Ferguson, and numerous other members of the Ontario and Canadian government.
After cutting the ribbon, the Prince of Wales was escorted to the ticket counters where he was issued the first ticket ever sold at Union Station. The ticket was to Alberta and cost $71.20. During the 11-minute ceremony, the Prince of Wales was also presented a gold key that unlocked the station. Later that week, on August 11th, the station received and dispatched its first passenger trains. Okay, let's talk about something international.
Oh, I know. One thing that the whole America has been talking about is the famous gangster Al Capone. Everyone knows about that gangster. In the last decade, during the height of Prohibition, Capone's multi-million-dollar Chicago operation in bootlegging, prostitution, and gambling has dominated the organized crime scene.
Capone was responsible for many brutal acts of violence, mainly against other gangsters. The most famous of these was the St. Valentine's Day massacre this year, in which he ordered the assassination of 7 rivals. Capone appeared before the federal grand jury in Chicago on March 20th this year and completed his testimony on March 27th. As he left the courtroom, he was arrested by agents of contempt for court, an offense for which the penalty could be 1 year in prison and $1,000 in fines. He posted a $5,000 bond and was released.
On May 17th, 1929, Al Capone and his bodyguard were arrested in Philadelphia for carrying concealed deadly weapons. Within 16 hours, they'd been sentenced to terms of 1 year each. Hopefully in the future, they can find some other evidence that proves that he's been bootlegging and selling booze illegally and put him into jail for good. And how about a brief message from our sponsors?
Soapify! Ladies and gentlemen, are you tired of the same old soap?
The smell of chemicals in your body? Afraid not. Try the Soapify special bar of soap.
It produces fragrant smell of flowers and fruits, and unlike other brands, it keeps your skin healthy and clean.
It only costs $5. Try Soapify soap now.
Sports, where should we begin? Oh, I know. Let's talk about the Summer Olympics from last year.
The Summer Olympics took place in 1928 in Amsterdam, Netherlands. We had 69 competitors play in the Olympics, 62 men and 7 women. In 8 different sports, Canada came in 10th ranked with a total of 15 medals, 4 gold, 4 silver, and 7 bronze.
I would say that's pretty darn good. We were 10th in the world. The next Olympic Summer Games will take place in 1932. Hopefully Canada can improve and get more medals next time.
Another thing that happened in the sports industry was that Conn Smythe bought the Toronto St. Pats and changed the hockey team's name to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
The 90s has been a berries of a decade so far, and the year of 1929 ain't shying away from it. Let's move on to our next segment, to where we talk about the current economic situation of Canada.
Holy applesauce, Richard, this is unbelievable. The stock market is looking sweller than ever before, now berries for living life to its fullest and spending some jack. Could you believe that it's only 10 years ago, economy was doing terrible, a razzmatazz that required, But we were able to bounce back from the war and have a sweller economy after the war. The swelling outsiders helped bring in a bigger workforce and demand for materials, let Canada make a bee's knees of a comeback in the economic sector.
Canada's economy has been bees kneeing due to the spiffy women getting to the workforce. Everyone's making more jack, and what to do better with that jack than to use it to make a swelling amount of seeds. Everyone's starting to invest and having a screwy number of bees off the back of investing. Businesses also making some dough by getting more jack from the average Joe, and the people are getting more money as the businesses are paying more. It's a win-win situation. The economy sure is booming and it ain't showing any signs of slowing down anytime soon.
Interest rates are in an all-time low at a keen 4.45%. Making now the time to buy a swell amount of goods. On the other side, the GDP is at an all-time high of 504 million and hitting on all eights. Showing no signs of slowing down, it is the berries of a time to spend some scratch. As Canada's economy keeps getting peppy, life in Canada ain't getting lousy anytime soon. I'll tell you that.
We recommend the numbers to invest in small amount of stocks and to buy some goods with that low interest rates and swell amount of dough. Now it's a better time than ever.
And now a brief commercial break from another one of our sponsors, Ford.
When buying your car, you want the barriers of a car, so it might put you behind the 8 ball. Don't worry, Ford's got your back. It's keen, ritzy, and spiffy car, made with only the swellest of materials. Ford's car comes at the cheapest prices, so you can conquer and colonize every road.
Worried that your family won't fit in your car? Ford's got your back with its 5-seater. Scared that your heap will slow down with all that luggage? The Ford 4-cylinder has your back with its 20 horsepower engine.
Stuck in a jam because of that price? Don't worry, the Ford's got your back with an affordable $650 attached to it. Now's the berriest of times to buy your Ford.
Alright, let's talk about politics in Canada in the last decade. To begin with, after World War I, Canada joined the League of Nations and became a founding member of the League. Later in 1921, a federal election, the Liberals won a minority government with 116 seats.
The Conservatives took 50 seats and the Progressives 65. It was a Liberal minority and Mackenzie King became Prime Minister. After the 1925 federal election, conservative Arthur Meighen won the most seats, but Liberal William Leon Mackenzie became Prime Minister as the Progressives and Independents supported him.
Then later, there was the Bing King scandal in 1926. The Liberal Party faced alcohol smuggling scandal. As a result, King lost confidence of the Parliament. Then, Meighen becomes Prime Minister at the request of G. Lord Byng, which only lasted for 3 days. Due to all of the controversy, another federal election was called. In the 1926 federal election, the Liberals and Conservatives reversed fortunes, with the Liberals winning 116 seats and the Conservatives 91. The Progressives won 13 seats and the UFA 11. There was 14 others. King became Prime Minister again, forming a minority government.
Furthermore, prohibition is a major issue in Canada. Alcohol was being produced and consumed by the gallons. However, this led to issues because of the side effects of alcohol has on a person. People came to work drunk, and this was a major downside because they wouldn't do much work, and it was a hazard when they were using all that machinery.
Husbands also came home from work and they were drunk and were very violent to their families. This led to the government cracking down on alcohol consumption, sale, and the production and transportation of alcohol. However, this wasn't much of an issue because bootleggers were producing and swiftly selling alcohol illegally.
Since prohibition was hard to enforce and it was just extra money for illegal sellers, they just decided to end the prohibition of alcohol.
That's a lot of talking. Let's take a break with our sponsor.
Does your child always nag you about getting them a toy, but it's too expensive and you don't want let your children down? Well, this is the product for you, the Train-inator.
The latest set of toy trains in North America. The best part is, it doesn't cost a clam. Now you can satisfy your children's wants while still keeping your pockets full for yourself.
Our surprise guest is a part of the Famous Five. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Emily Murphy.
Salutations, living friends.
Hello, Miss Murphy. Welcome to A Little Bit of Everything show. As you know, you were the first female judge in all of Canada. So let's begin with a little introduction, with a quick batch of questions.
Why did you want to become a judge?
Because of my family's background, which is mostly involved in politics, I thought it was the best decision for my career.
So, how difficult was it to balance family life, work, writing, and other forms of activities?
I combined family life, writing, and multitude of reform activities in the interest of women and children. This included women's property rights. While traveling through Alberta countryside, I met a woman who had been abandoned by her husband. The man had sold their farm and left her without a home or money. Legally, the woman had no rights to the property. Incensed, I began a campaign to protect women's property rights. In 1915, the Alberta legislature passed the Married Women's Home Protection Act. This gave women the right to file a caveat. This prevented the transfer, mortgage, or lease of a woman's home without her consent. In 1917, this was replaced by the Dower Act. It protected a wife's right to 1/3 share in her husband's property.
Go. How does it feel to be a trailblazer in women's rights?
From 1900 to 1906, I began writing patriotic travel sketches published under my pseudonym, Janie Kinnick. However, in Alberta, I became increasingly engaged in social issues, becoming concerned about widespread poverty, and particularly in the welfare of women and children. In 1910, I became the first one appointed to the Edmonton Hospital Board. October 18th has been declared as National Persons Day in Canada, and in recognition of victory awarded to the Famous Five on this date in 1929.
How does it feel to have a day celebrated towards you?
It feels amazing. I never would have thought I would get this far. This is truly an honor to me. And congratulations to the rest of the Famous Five.
What gave you such motivation and heart to do all the reform you're doing currently?
On one occasion, while accompanying my husband on a trip around the countryside, I met a woman who had been left homeless and penniless when her husband sold their farm and left her without her and their children. Much to my horror, there was no legal recourse for the woman who had spent 18 years working on the farm. I set out to change this terrible situation and spent several years of study on my own. I worked to convince the MLAs to support her cause. The Dower Act was finally passed in 1917 in the Alberta legislature. This established a wife's right to 1/3 or her husband's estate, but unfortunately, it took many years before authority enforced its provisions.
Thanks for listening and see you again next week.